All right, hello everybody. My name is Dan, aka Duckface, and so today we're gonna react to the patch 14.16 TFT rundown and just a little background of who I am. I am a top 1% player in NA right now. Climbed to Emerald. I was Diamond my first set, and I played that set for about 1 month total when I first learned the game. Um, yeah, so you can see January 6th, Bronze 3. And then by February 28th, I was Diamond 4, but I peaked Diamond 3. So I feel like I have at least enough knowledge to kind of talk about it. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to talk about the different things that I think should be touched upon on this patch. So going on units, I think that I won't talk about the things that I already know because I don't want to. We have a group chat, so we talk about the things that we already know. I don't want to talk about the things I already know, but I think that 3 costs should get a buff. I think Ezreal should get a buff. I think Katarina should absolutely get a buff. I think Hui should get a little bit of a buff. I think Jinx, Mordekaiser, and this is going to be controversial, but Vigar should also get a buff. And the reason why is because most 3 costs in this set feel like pretty underwhelming. Like if you play like Vigar reroll or Jinx reroll, Hui reroll, I mean, don't even mention Ezreal reroll. But if you want to play any of those, they kind of are useless. And even like a 3-star Hecarim, like it's pretty good, but like two costs are just too strong right now. Like Tristana is really strong, Syndra is really strong, Nunu is incredibly strong, Rumble is incredibly strong, Kog'Maw is insane, Kassadin is insane, and Syndra's obviously broken. So Syndra, Kog'Maw, Kassadin are definitely getting nerfed. We all knew that. Cassiopeia is like even pretty damn strong, and Akali, if you 3-star her in a multi-striker comp and put items on her, she's actually really, really, really good. In certain circumstances, she can one-shot backlines and actually beat Syndra comps. With that, and then looking at the 4 costs, I think Olaf should get a buff. I think Ryze should get a buff. I think Taric feels pretty underwhelming. I've seen people with Taric 3 and then they just get stomped. I think Varus should probably get a buff because he feels pretty meh. Kench is fine where he's at, in my opinion. 5 costs. I'm kind of good with where 5 costs are at. Most of them are fine, and you can kind of just throw them into your comps, and they're not too bad. Traits. I think Arcana is fine. I think Chrono definitely should get a nerf. I think Fairy should get a pretty decent buff. I think Eldritch actually, and this is gonna be controversial. I think Eldritch should actually get a buff. Frost should definitely get a buff. I think 5 Honeymancy itself should get a bit of a buff. Portal overall, I think, is fine. The only problem is that it feels kind of like very situational and niche, and I'd like to see it be a little bit more usable in more places. I think Pyro's pretty much fine where it's at. Sugarcraft, I think, should get a little bit of a buff. And Witchcraft, I don't know. It's kind of hard to evaluate because it's a little unique. I think Hunter should probably get a little buff, just a little bit, just to make it vertical, possibly an option. Multi-striker, I think multi-striker is fine. I think it's just that the units are too strong in multi-striker right now. Other than I think Hecarim he's a 3 cost. Like 3 costs feel really weak. Shapeshifter's fine. I think Scholar should probably get a little bit of a buff, and I think Warrior should probably get a little bit of a buff. Mage I actually think is fine as well. And then we go to items. I don't really want to get into items because I don't know, but I definitely think that there are 2 augments that I definitely think need a nerf. I don't want to talk again. Augments, there's so many augments, so I kind of want to keep it moving a little bit. But it's like let's look at Syndra, right? Just having Syndra is 19.8% win rate, 56.9% top 4 with no. Now there's 2 that I want to talk about. Spellblades, because these stats are like literally Syndra any star. Like look at Syndra 3-star Spellblades. Look at Syndra 2-star Spellblades. I mean that's just with Spellblades. Like no items, none of that stuff. Like now, if she gets, let's say, Spear of Shojin, she's going to have every game. Like, it's just, I mean, it's what you're building every game, right? And then, support Golem. I think support Golem, and Spellblades are completely busted. I think they're just ridiculously strong, right? I mean, even see just with Ginsu's 60.4% in win rate. So let's look at Shojin. So like get more accurate representation. Shojin, Ginsu's, right? And then like let's bump that up to a 3-star. Yeah, 83% top 4, 45% win rate. Look at this. And then let's put Spellblades. So if you 3-star it, like, and you get Spellblades or Support Golem, like you're guaranteed a top 4 almost, like almost guaranteed it, unless you like really run it down. So I think that should, I think Spellblades and Support Golem should definitely be nerfed. Yeah, I think Chrono. I think Chrono should, like I was saying, Chrono should definitely be nerfed. I think, where's it at? Preservers. Is Preservers not on here? Origins. Oh, these are Origins. And then you have classes. Preservers. Yeah, Preservers definitely should be nerfed. So that's what I think. And what I'm going to do every patch rundown is kind of see, like, how much Riot agrees with me on this. So let's get into
it. Riot Mort here, and it is time. 2 weeks have passed since the launch of Magic and Mayhem, and it is time for the patch 14.16 rundown. Now, we launched the set, and generally it's been pretty good. There's a really good base in there, a lot of fun origins and champions, and the charms have landed really well as well. That being said, some augments and a few champions definitely out of line. Syndra, sorry, a little cold today. But, you know, that's what the first patch is here for. We're here to make some adjustments and get the patch in an even better spot. And the nice thing is, when you have a really solid base of a really good set, a couple balance changes is easy versus like having to giant rework and stuff like that. So overall, feeling pretty good. Let's not keep you waiting. Let's jump into it and go over all the changes. First up, on the system side, all those golems you see, whether it be through the portals, whether it be through the augments, those golems are beefy. They are doing a lot, and all those golems are pretty much overpowered. So we're going to be nerfing all the golems. AD is going to go down from 65 to 55. Base HP is going to go down from 600 to 550. Now keep in mind, support golem has the 250 health from the support items, so support golems are still pretty beefy here. And then their ability damage is also going down.
See, I agree with this. The only thing is like, I guess that counts Eldritch, like you were saying. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because like the one good thing that like Vertical Eldritch had going for it is that at least like Eldritch early was like one of the best starters. Like it was a really good starter. So I feel like that kind of gets screwed over a bit. But outside of that, I think golems are like really, really strong. And and the problem is like I think like what I was saying with support golems and I was saying with Spellblades is any augment that like pretty much 100%. Sorry, I'm waiting on a shipment. Any augment that pretty much like 100% of the time you're gonna take, I think is like bad for the game. I think that like if you see like support golems and Spellblades, like you're gonna take Spellblades most of the time, depending on your comp. But if you're playing, or like I'm the carry now, like that was another one I didn't talk about. I'm the carry now. Let's look at like Cassidon, for example, and then you have like I'm the carry now, right? I mean that's so stats actually go down, but like let's say you 3-star them, right? I mean stats go way up, and then especially with Syndra. Yeah, I mean, and obviously all of her stats are going to be a little inflated just because of how broken she is, but I'm the carry now. Like, if you get I'm the carry now, support golem or Spellblades, you're always taking that, and then also item collector. Yeah, item collector is so busted, especially for a silver augment. Like, you see how much it boosted as a silver augment, and like let's say you 2-star, and then like let's say you 3-star, right? Like, it's pretty much guaranteed top 4 and like almost a 50% chance of a win, right? Just by getting the normal items on her, putting the normal champions around her. So, and yeah, also Mordekaiser. I think Mordekaiser should get a buff as well.
But honestly, they're still going to be really
I don't
good.
remember if I said that or not.
But they won't quite be maybe 57, 58% top 4 rates. Hopefully, this brings them down. But expect them to still be pretty good here. All right, traits. Blaster. I think this is a pretty small change, but when blasters are not in their damage amp state at 2 and 4, they're going to be a bit stronger. So this is like at the start of a fight before they've cast, or if there's a bigger than 3-second window, they'll be a little stronger here. And then
Blaster was one I didn't mention because like that's the thing is Blaster is so irrelevant that it's one I didn't even mention. But yeah, Blaster absolutely should get a buff.
And 4 Blaster
It's
will go
useless.
from 45 to 50, so 4 Blaster will be a little stronger. That being said, I played a lot of Blaster on PBE. They seem okay. Hui's okay. If you can get 6 Blaster, it's still pretty good, but there also weren't any buffs at 6, so yeah.
Actually, I'm just gonna put my webcam where he has his webcam. I'm just gonna keep it where it was because I don't want to block any of the information. So sorry, Mort. We're gonna block. Mort.
But who knows? Maybe it'll help Varus out a bit. Fairy Vertical has definitely been struggling a bit.
There we go. So
you
one.
played
Fairy.
2 for
Okay,
that
so
item.
let's see how I did. So I didn't say Blaster. I totally forgot about Blaster. I said Fairy should get a buff. Did Frost should get a buff. Preserve should get nerfed. I said Warrior should get buffed a little bit. Scholar should get buffed. Okay, so I got that.
Like
I think. What else did I say? Hunter.
Item for your Callista.
Yeah, I don't think Hunter should.
Otherwise, you don't really play it.
Honestly,
so
two
4
Hunters
and 6 is going to get
like,
a buff.
More than good enough.
4 is going to get this. The damage item is going to get their damage amp buffed at 4 and 6. And then if you have 6, you have the armor, and the armor is going to be more powerful. More healing and shielding, more HP, and more healing from the queen.
I still don't know if this is enough to go vertical Fairy because I think that like the problem with Fairy is that outside of Callista, Rakan, and Tristana, like the Fairy units suck. Like Seraphine is Lilia is okay. You kind of have to 3-star late game, but she's a 1 cost, so that makes sense. Seraphine is like just feels pretty bad. Even as an item holder, she just doesn't feel very good. Like Katarina is like useless. Katarina sucks. So
the one wearing the crown.
I think it's more the units.
So hopefully
I think
helps Fairy a bit.
I think Fairy. The problem with Fairy is that it just gets outscaled so hard. It's like the same thing with Honeymancy. Like it gets outscaled so hard, which I also said Honeymancy, so that's 2 against me.
Frost, very light touch here. 1 AD and AP at 3, 5 at 5, 7, and 9. So vertical Frost getting a pretty chunky buff here. I think this actually makes 5 and 7 Frost quite a bit better. So definitely check that out. Preserver definitely, it's like right below the S tier stuff, but Preserver is a very powerful trait, really flexible.
That's the point. But that's the thing. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be an S tier trait. It's supposed to be a good supporting trait, but it's just too good because you use it with like Wukong or you use it with like Chrono Preservers, and it's just like the units just never die. Like you can't kill them. Like even if you have like a stack Syndra with 3-star, like those fights, like you'll still win because she's just that broken, but like it takes so long even for a very overtuned unit to be able to get through like one solo tank because they have Preserver. Like it just feels so insane. Plus the Preserver units are also very good. Like Rakan is very good, Karma is very good. Bard is actually a really good support unit on top of that too. So like vertical Preserver is like very, very good. And yeah.
Healing nerfed at all levels. And its mana gain nerfed at 4 and 5. Still very good from what we've seen. That being said, there is a change here where Preserver ticks while a unit is mana locked. Will now grant that mana after the mana lock ends. So this is one of those nice quality of life things where
like
if you would have got a tick beforehand of, let's say 12 mana, but you were mana locked, you'd lose it. This will fix it. So a bit of a quality of life change there. But overall, this should be a nerf to Preserver, but very light. From what we've seen, still very good. I expect you'll see some Preserver Wukong still doing
I mean, it's still going to be good.
Scholar.
So,
does it change much? We'll see. But hopefully it helps Scholar out a bit. And then Warrior. Warrior's another change there. But overall, this should be a nerf to Preserver, but very light.
Yeah, so my prediction is that Blaster is going to be a better opener, but I still don't think people are going to go vertical Blaster very often. I think Fairy is going to be still, I mean, depending on what the units look like, I don't know. Frost is already like niche use, so I think it'll be used a little bit more, but I don't think that 5% is that 5% in the middle, mid to end game is enough to really like boost it to the point where it's going to be like a very sought after comp. So it's still viable because it's not going to be super contested. Preserver's definitely still going to be good. Just not like oppressive. But I don't know, like this is such a small nerf. So I think they're just kind of slowly seeing like how far they can take it to where it's fair. Scholar actually, like that's pretty decent mana per auto, like an extra 2 mana. That's not bad, especially because most of those units use Shojin anyway. I think Scholar is like actually needing even more of a buff than that. But the problem is that like Zoe and Friends is a comp, but any comp that you need to 3-star like 5 units, I don't think is that strong.
From what we've seen, still very
Warrior.
good. I expect you'll see some
This is
Preserver
actually a
Wukong
big
still
buff for
doing quite
Warrior.
well.
5% Omni Vamp at
Scholar
6.
Scholar's going to get buffed to 6 and 12. Does it change much? We'll see. But hopefully it helps
Actually,
Scholar
pretty
out a
big
bit.
damage and Omni Vamp 5%.
And then Warrior.
That's not bad.
Warrior's another one here. You don't really see much beyond 2 Warrior. You'll see a lot of Gwen Fioras or Katarina +1s, or
But that's because Gwen and Fiora are so strong, though. Like that's the thing is like Gwen and Fiora are so
Mila
strong, so
Akali's.
it's
We
tough
don't
again.
really
It's tough again to evaluate some of these traits because some of the units are so
see a
strong.
lot of 4 and 6. So 4 and 6 is going to get a buff. 4 just 2% damage amp and Omni Vamp. 6 5%. Honestly, we'll see if it makes a
It seems like they're trying to give more options.
but you know, I'm sure some of you are looking at this going Fairy and Warrior. That must mean Katarina. So hopefully Katarina can be playable. On the small side, Bastion 6 and 8 are going to get a buff. 5 more armor and MR at 6, 10 more armor and MR at 8.
5 armor and MR. I guess this is to make it as powerful as Vertical Vanguard.
Again, minor stuff.
But it's,
and then the other one here is, it felt really weird to have this chrono stop, this 2.5 second stun.
That is broken. I'm glad. That's a good start for Chrono. That is broken, the fact that Quicksilver doesn't stop it. And you just lose the fight because you have 4 Chrono. Like, you only need 4 for that ability, and it's so strong. Like, what other trait at 4 in recent memory has been that strong? I mean, that is ridiculous.
Like crowd control, and then you'd have a Quicksilver, and you're like, why is it still working? It's very weird. It's very unintuitive. So we decided to change it so that if you're immune to CC, you are immune to CC. So, yeah. So Quicksilver, maybe a better item here as well. 4 Chrono, 6 Chrono, small bit of a nerf
Quicksilver
here.
is already a good item now because of who he uses.
It makes more intuitive sense. All right, on the 1 cost side, Jace 3 gets a very, very small AD ratio buff. So if you want to invest in Jace 3, a spell will hit a little harder.
He's still going to be kind of a shit unit.
Lilia. Bit of a buff for Lilia and for Fairy and early stuff like that.
That's good. I like this already. Soraka was another unit I was actually going to mention, and I just didn't. I don't know why, but Soraka is fucking terrible. So her getting a sizable buff is good because she'll actually be able to be useful and not just like, I mean, she barely is an item holder. She's terrible.
10 off the mana. So, cool. Buff for Lilia. Seraphine and Soraka.
Okay, Warwick reroll is actually going to be good. Warwick reroll is actually going to be good because Warwick reroll was like it felt okay, like when you get perfect items and then it would just not kill, and now it's going to kill. I think it'll be
probably the
easy.
worst champions in the set right now.
Yeah.
That being said, even though they're bad, they are getting some connected buffs. Soraka can do well in Sugarcraft. We don't want to overbuff everything. And with obviously a lot of the best stuff being nerfed later, we don't want to go too hard. That being said, they get a little bit
She was
here.
useless.
So Seraphine going to get 10
I hate
more mana
that they're
off her
both
cast,
terrible.
and Soraka getting about an 8%, close to 10% spell damage buff.
Yeah, I like that.
They'll hit a little harder.
That's
and then Warwick, this poor guy, there's such a fun dream in there. If you can get his attack speed ramped up, it should be a lot of fun, but it's just never really paying off. Right. So getting a pretty small buff here, 1 and 2 star, but pretty sizable one at 3 star here. So if you can get Warwick to work, go for it. I know Vampiric Scepter's pretty good. From what we've seen, it's pretty good and falls off, but if you can start like 2-1 with a Vampiric Scepter and a Warwick 2, pretty good start for you. So pretty skeptical it'll be S tier or anything like that.
Yeah,
but hopefully this makes him playable.
It'll be niche use, but it'll still be.
All right,
for
2
1
costs.
Not bad.
Good thing there haven't been any problematic 2 costs this patch. No, Ari is going to get a small buff here. Pretty small. You can see here it's only like 5 base spell damage on the main.
I saw this. I don't love it because Ari was. The thing about Ari, it's like her damage is okay in Zoe and Friends and everything. Like her damage was already okay, but like the thing is like it's her ability. Like she misses so much and it takes so long. Like if her orb went a little bit faster, I feel like she'd be fine. I don't think it's the damage that's necessarily the problem. I think the damage, like her damage is good, especially when you have like a Zoe and Friends and you 3-item her and Zoe. Like it's pretty good. The problem is that Scholar was kind of whatever. It's like in Arcana's good in she's good in 1 comp. because of like her ability. Like her ability is just not good.
About a 10% on the true damage coming back. But RE spell is also already pretty hard to hit as is. That being said, there's an RE Zoe build that's doing very well. I imagine this will be pretty good. Galio gets to be tanky. This will help out Portal. This will help out Mage. So Galio gets to be a little bit tankier.
Galio buff. I saw this too. Galio is already really used. And he's got 3 traits. Like, he's a pretty good unit. I'm surprised they buffed him.
Of the PBE, I think near the end of PBE, people started figuring out how to play Kassadin, and once they did, he was very strong.
There were 60%.
Were some predictions that he was going to be like
40,
SS
50,
tier, but
60.
he couldn't quite live up to the Syndra hype. That being said, he does need a bit of a nerf. So he's going to get a bit less stacking damage. And then the shield is probably the bigger hit here, losing pretty close to a little more than 10% here, almost 20% at 3-star. So pretty big shield nerf for Kassadin. He shouldn't feel quite so tanky. That being said, I think he's still strong from what we've tested.
He's going to be good still, but he's not going to be strong. He's not going to be fucking.
So don't underestimate him. Don't look at this and go nerf unplayable. I think he'll actually still do.
No, he's going to be good, but he's not going to be like impressive again.
Kog'Maw 3, there was a little too much power in Kog'Maw 3's spell.
Kog'Maw 3 is still going to be good.
Compared him to other hunters.
He's still going to be good.
So Kog'Maw is going to get his spell nerfed. Pretty small nerf at 1-star, bigger nerf at 2, and pretty chunky nerf at 3-star. So
he's
Kog'Maw not quite as strong. Plus, the thing to remember is Kog'Maw provides a lot of utility to his team. He's meant to be sort of next to the Jinx, powering that up, or a nice secondary carry.
He's just going to be a little lower in the S tier.
Won't be quite as strong here, and should actually be less strong than the 3-cost Jinx, hopefully. So,
thank you.
All right,
and that's what I was gonna. That's what I want to say is that like I want 3-cost reroll to feel better than 2-cost reroll if it works out. Like if you get the comps right, whereas like it feels like the 3 costs are complementary carries and the 2 costs are like the major hyper carries, and that just doesn't make as much sense to me because like they're so efficient. Like their abilities are so good. Like Kassadin's got stacking damage. He's got his shield, right? That it's just so like, and the items just work so well with it that are super good. And then you have like Kog'Maw, for example. He just fits so well into all these comps, or he fits so well into his comp. And you only need 2 Hunter, and he's just destroying everything. But then you do like the same thing. Like let's say instead you go for Jinx, you itemize Jinx. Like Jinx just holds a last whisper for Kog'Maw. Like that doesn't feel right.
For 2 cost, right? Nah, JK. Shyvana is getting a slight adjustment that should be a bit of a buff here. The spell will scale a bit better with AP and a bit less with HP. And the thing is, by the way, Shyvana was not meant to be a tank. Shyvana is meant to be sort of a magic fighter. It's going to have Bloodthirster, Crown Guard being really good items. Bloodthirster, Crown Guard,
that's
Warmog
interesting.
Is a really good combo.
I'm interested to see how that works out.
We changed the class to Magic Fighter to hopefully make those better. And then Syndra. Yeah, let's talk about Syndra. Look, we want to be really thorough here. We do not need Syndra dominating the meta for another patch. So we're going pretty hard here. Yeah, the first one to talk about is actually the cast time. This is the biggest change. Her cast time, due to a change that went in at the last minute that probably shouldn't have, her cast time was 0.3 seconds, which is not standard. Every other champion is 1 second. Like, that's normal for every champion in the game.
That's what I was going to say.
Should have been 1 second.
About that, too.
What this did is this is why you're seeing attack speed items.
She just feels
so much better on her than, like, mana items, is because she could just plow through and keep on attacking. This was not intended. Yeah. So this is the biggest nerf there. That being said, on top of that, she is doing too much damage. So base damage is going to go down about 10%. Splash damage as well. And then her scaling is going to get hit as well. So
I think that she will be a pretty good complementary carry still. Like, for sure. She's just not going to be this hyper carry that fucking destroys everybody. But she's still
This will hopefully make her feel a lot closer to intended. We've seen her definitely not be the free win that she is on live on PBE, but we have also seen her still do well if you get her early and get her stacking with like a Shojin's and a Nashor's. So don't underestimate her and think her she's dead, but she's definitely not the, better than 2-star 4 cost that she is on live.
Yeah, which is insane.
In the world where this isn't enough, I'd be shocked, but, I also know people are pretty sick of Syndra, so we'll keep an eye on it. But again, the cast time here is the biggest change because all the attack speed versions are going to get hit in the teeth with this one. So, all right, Katarina. Katarina feels like one of the 3 costs that's really hard to play. she's getting a buff. And yes, this means she's getting a buff. Warrior 4 and 6 is getting a buff. Fairy 4 and 6 is getting a buff.
Yeah.
Yup, that's true. Will it make her meta? Hopefully. Will it make her S tier? Probably not.
Meta, even making her meta, she's really bad. She's really bad.
So give her a try, though. We've definitely seen some Katarinas doing well here. Wukong. I think this buff is going to be a little surprising to people, but
this is the one that I saw and I said, there's no way this is real. Like, I thought it was a troll because Wukong is actually very good. And now with 50% extra shield at 1, 20% extra at 2, that's surprising. Now, 3 not being different makes sense, but now with 2-star Wukong, now I guess they want to make it more contested, but literally if somebody has Preserver and they just use Wukong as like a solo tank, like he just doesn't die.
The big thing to call out here, it is mostly a 1-star buff. You can see 50 shield at 1-star, 20 at 2-star, 0 at 3-star. If you told me the 3-star was actually supposed to be nerfed a little, I'd believe you. That being said, it's not like Wukong is dominating or anything like that. But he did need the buff at 1-star and 2-star.
But he's
so
a 3
he's going to get those. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a follow-up nerf on 3-star later. But we want Wukong to be the champion that if you get out of an orb at 2-1, you're like, yes, let's go. Solid early game. But he should fall off compared to like a Vex 3 with traits, or a Swain 3 with traits, or a Nico 3 with traits. He's supposed to have a lower cap, higher start, lower cap, and so that's why we're buffing the 1 and 2-star.
That at least makes more sense.
All right, 4 cost, Karma. Karma's ability was a pretty neat design, but
Tahm Kench is getting a buff? 50 HP is not a lot, but god damn, he was already pretty good. I mean, he's got an AoE knockup. And
it was
a shield.
Frankly a bit overloaded, and a lot of people would read the tooltip and go, huh? I don't get it. A lot, if not
broken.
Most of our players barely even realized she had a heal. We like her damage high, but we removed the heal. The heal was very confusing.
Which I'm cool with.
It was
because
worked
that
with
on top
certain
of
builds
Preserver
really, really well,
so
and other builds not at all. The fact it was proximity healing was very confusing. So she loses the heal. If you want her to heal, build a Gunblade. So yeah,
which Gunblade was like so good on her.
Just as good, so she should be fine. Rise.
Yeah, she's gonna be good.
Small buff here.
That's how related she was.
May need more later. I know Rise is struggling on live. This is a very small buff.
He's not good.
But still keep an eye on Rise. But he is getting a buff. Tahm Kench, really, really powerful champion. A lot of people play him in Arcana comps. He's like probably the best itemless champion to put in your comp.
Yeah.
But if you invest him as a tank, it feels pretty bad. So he's getting 50 HP. Varus.
Yeah, but like that's the thing is like he already fits. Like he's really good. No items, you just 2-star him and leave him, and he does. He has an AoE knockup and a shield. He'll probably knock up. If you can get him to knock up twice, like you're fine. Now you're increasing that chance. Like he's probably gonna get follow-up nerfed. But yeah, Varus is another guy that we had. So
this one's we'll see how this one lands. But for now,
perfect.
Varus is gonna get his channel time reduced. I still think there's a lot of work to do with the spell. The number of times you hit like a solo tank, or it just feels like you whiff. There's still work to do here, but for now, this should at least let him go back to auto attacking.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine.
He often has really strong AD items.
He'll still be fine.
So
for
at
now.
least you can get back to
Pyro.
those
I mean, his
autos
Pyro is
and get those to
good
hit.
now,
So
and they also
spell
buff
lifts,
Blaster.
You'll still get those. Again, we'll keep an eye on things like Rise and Varus. Didn't want to swing too hard, but Varus should get a little better here. And then last is Briar. Briar just a little underperforming for where we want her. Obviously, everything feels like it's underperforming compared to Syndra, but even for Briar, we wanted 5 extra AD.
Which is a good point.
So that if you invest in that Briar, hit that Briar too, she can be quite strong. So a few people are saying, why no Olaf buff? Remember, we did buff Frost. Frost is the buff that Olaf received. Don't want to swing too hard. All right, on the item side, Dragon Claw and Dragon Will. If you compare these items to the Anima Visage, frankly, they were overlapping too hard. And Dragon's Claw, when you look at it and the amount of stats it was giving, was over budget. Dragon Claw really is just really good. I mean, it's
every tank.
So we are nerfing Dragon Claw's healing and Dragon Will's max HP. We like that the Radiant has that heal. That's okay. It's a unique thing. But Dragon's Claw is getting a bit of a nerf here. Blacksmith's Gloves, losing its base HP a little bit. It's a very powerful item. Doesn't need that much base HP. Mogul's Mail, same thing. This item is very, very good, 50 HP off. And then Needlessly Big Jim quickly became the best support item in the game.
Yeah, that
It's going to lose that 5%
Thank
damage
God.
amp from its
That's
start
not going to be
max.
enough, I don't think,
Should
but
still
it's
be
still good.
But yeah.
It was broken.
All right, augments, page 1 of 4. Yes, augments, like I said, there's a lot of really cool, fun augments this set, but the balance on them, a little off. So, a lot of big augment changes here. Let's run through them. Silver augments, beggars can be choosers. This is a very fun augment now that gives 7 gold. The way you need to think of this is very similar to like 1s, 2s, 3s. You're mostly taking it for the 7 gold. It's like a 7 gold silver, but you get 4 augment rerolls. And you can use that to kind of force some stuff. I actually managed to pull it off.
Still not going to be as good.
So pretty good for a silver now. Should make it better. Yeah. Find Your Center, no longer offered on 2-1.
7 gold is fine, but like when other people are getting...
and then
like,
bonus HP has been buffed.
Item Collector.
Item Collector, little OP for a silver. Now 5 HP per item. You still get the rest of the stats. Keepers, probably due for a nerf for a while. Gets a nerf.
Yeah, Keepers good.
1, 2, 3, little over our gold. So we're removing one of the 1-cost champions, bringing it down 1 gold. On the house, this augment was bad. There wasn't a number to really buff it without making it become this really tedious thing where you're supposed to buy every 1 cost and sell them to get the gold. So on the house is removed. Restart mission gives you an extra 2-star 2 cost. I think this augment's going to be great for a silver now if you're willing to take it. And then Robe Rejuvenation, 1% more base Omnivamp. Cool.
Robe Rejuvenation was already decent though, so having that added is pretty good.
On to gold. Arcane Conduit. This is the Arcana augment. This one was not very fun, not very good, and way too hard to play. It's been removed. Avenge the Fallen gets a small buff. Once 3 people die, you'll get even more base stats. Built Different is now exclusive with 2 tanky. Built Different plus 2 tanky is just way too good, much like Double Trouble before. Caramelized Comforts. This is the Sugarcraft trait augment. Gets a buff of 10 HP per item and another 2% gold chance.
So them removing it gives you a higher chance of getting like the better augments as well too. So like getting rid of those useless ones is good.
We literally just tested this on PBE. It's pretty fun once you get it going. 60% chance to drop a gold with a 3-item carry. Pretty fun. Clockwork Accelerator. This is going to tick much quicker. Backloaded augments are typically pretty weak right now. That being said, this is a big buff to this augment.
Clockwork Frequency was already decent,
seconds,
so now it's going to be really
15
good.
seconds. So very large buff here. We'll see if it makes a difference. But again, backloaded augments are always a little rough. Draconic Mastery. This is the dragon trait augment that was basically impossible to play and kind of really poorly worded. Has been removed. Endless Hunt. This augment was not very good. This augment required you to... Hunters already have to get a kill to get their AD. You had to keep getting kills to snowball off of that. And so if you were behind it all, this augment was terrible. So Endless Hunt has now been reworked to be called Hunting Frenzy. It will now give hunters an execute below 12%, and they gain 10% attack speed.
Seems fun.
The execute will allow them to get their proc, which will allow them to get their AD and hopefully help them out. So... give it a try. Eternal Growth Plus, 40 HP less, just a little too good early. Explosive Growth Plus, this is the one on 4-2. 1 more XP per turn for 4 turns. Fast Forward, I believe this is the Chrono one. Will give you more attack speed. Cool. Fortune Favors the Bold. This augment right now, I believe, has the highest win rate in the game, even higher than Golden Egg. Probably not correct. So Fortune Favors the Bold. 8 and 10 loss cash outs have been nerfed even more. If you want to really win with this augment, we want you to have 11 loss or higher. 10 loss should be like a top 4. 9 and 8, it should feel like a normal augment. So the 8 to 10 loss has been nerfed. And some of the 13 and 14 loss cash outs, if you can get to if you hit the 13 or 14, we want you to win the game. Like, that's probably a win. So, yeah. Flexible has been
Which is
nerfed.
cool because I've seen some shit with that. Fortune Favors the Bold.
Getting an emblem every stage. It'll only be the first 3 stages, meaning you only get 3 emblems from Flexible. High Horsepower. This is the Lilia hero augment. Easily the worst performing hero augment in the game.
Yep.
Now gets a bunch more attack speed and more ability damage amp. Keep in mind, she also got that mana buff. Will all of this combined make enough?
I'm also kind of sick of seeing goddamn hero augments just win the game.
We'll see.
or give you like a guaranteed
Alright.
top 4.
On to higher education. This is the mage one. The mana spend required to proc it has gone down. Oh no, this is a scholar one. Excuse me. The mana spend required to proc it has
With the scholar buff, so that's gonna be
gone
decent.
down. The attack speed has gone up. Cool.
I agree with both of these off the bat.
Item collector 2, again, too strong, gets nerfed. Keepers should be colored red, not green. That's a nerf. Molten Caramel. This is the Rumble hero augment.
That one
This
was
gets buffed.
useless.
More Omnivamp, more ability damage. Should be good. Pilfer, really fun augment, really good. Doesn't need 4 starting gold.
Pilfer
I'm
is
gonna take that
insane.
away for now. Will still probably be a very good augment. I can't imagine this puts it in a bad place. Probably still one of the better 2/1 augments. Practice partners. This is the mage one, giving 5 mana now instead of 4. Press the attack. Again, apparently I'm colorblind and can't make colors the right thing. This should be red. This is a nerf. Press the attack, getting nerfed for multi-strikers. It's already a very good augment. Row Rejuvenation 2.
Press the attack. If you get press the attack with Cassin and reroll, like that was. Press the attack was so insane.
1% Omnivamp buff. Cool. Okay, School Mascot. This is another very powerful augment that's been doing really well. It no longer has a death cap, so it's losing the second item. It's losing the death cap. So when you see this number as a buff, remember that it just lost a death cap, which is 50% AP, 20% extra damage amp. That's gone. But that would have made it too weak, so the HP goes back up to 10%, the AP goes to 30%. But again, this is a very large nerf to School Mascot.
Which is good because School Mascot was annoying.
This gets a bit of a nerf. Very
Thank
good in the
God.
Zoe comp. Honestly, good in a bunch of other comps
Thank
as well.
God.
But Spellblade's getting nerfed. Support Golem, no longer offered on 2/1. This is meant to be a nerf. Support Golem is very, very powerful on 2/1. We're purposely saying, nope, you've got to wait for it when the golems don't make quite as big a difference. Sweet Tooth, going to lose 100 bonus HP. Honestly, Sweet Tooth is still probably going to be a very good hero augment.
Dude, that was their takeaway is 100 bonus HP. Sweet Tooth's gonna be an ass, by the way, guys. If you see Sweet Tooth, take it.
I can't imagine this moves the needle too much.
Doesn't
Freeze
do
the Crowd,
anything. 'Cause
gonna
he
get buffed.
doesn't do anything because he builds Warmog's Archangel's fucking Bloodthirster. It doesn't do anything.
It helps some 3-cost reroll comps have that augment. Trait Tracker. Trait Tracker was meant to be a high-risk augment that you're like, you have to figure out the comp, put it together. But it turns out when you get it with Flexible, it's like, guess I win? So they're now mutually exclusive. You cannot get Trait Tracker and Flexible together. All right, page 4. Too Healthy. 2-cost reroll doing very good right now. It's going to lose 10 HP here. Yeah. Vertically Inclined, a little...
Yeah, Vertically Inclined, I'm glad is getting buffed because Vertically Inclined felt really bad.
weak, so it's getting a buff.
And I played it with like Syndra, and I was like, oh, it's fucking 8% extra damage for sure. And
it will no longer offer it on 2/1 when it's bad. So you'll get it later, not earlier. Witchy Wallop, this is the Poppy hero augment, damage up.
So.
And the time between Wallops is going to go down, so it'll look smoother, it'll feel smoother, and is technically a buff. Worth the Wait. This is the one that gives you a bunch of 1 costs. The turn delay will be a little later, so you'll get your 3-star 1 cost even sooner.
Worth the Wait's actually
now on to Prismatic. Anger Issues. This is the fun Ginsu's. Lots of Ginsu's one. We like this augment. It falls off way too hard. It's going to give you 5 more armor and MR.
I mean, that's the problem with it, though, because even if you build it, it only gives you 90, whereas, like if you build, like, triple... Like, you get, like, Wukong, you build triple, gargoyles, that's, what, 50? It's 150 each? So it's still, like, not going to be that good, I don't think.
So you can actually have a front line with this. Hopefully that'll help. Assassin's
I think they should have bumped it by 10.
Blocks now grants a Prowler's Claw. Yes, apparently we got rid of Prowler's Claw, and it's now a Claw. It's definitely not a typo. But it used to give that, and then a Gold Collector 3 turns later.
That's a good, yeah, that was really strong if you got in the right situation.
Those 2 items synergize really well, and you get them early, so hopefully this should be a buff.
That'll still be fine if you use it on, like, Nyla or something.
Really well on some of those frontline, like the Neela, the Akali, stuff like that. At What Cost was giving 16 bonus XP.
Yeah,
that's going to go down to 8.
ridiculous.
Probably didn't need 16. Dark Alley Dealings. This is the one that gives you the trench coat. It's going to be delayed only 3 turns now, so that's going to go down. Giant and Mighty, this is one of our new generic combat augments that just gives HP, a lot of HP. It's going to lose 25 off the base.
It's still
A
gonna be
movable
fine.
object, another really good generic combat augment that gives 70 armor and MR to the team. That's going to go down a bit
It'll still be good, but
because it makes that
it
item
was
so
just
much better.
broken. It was broken.
Prismatic Ticket, chance to proc has gone down and no longer.
It was broken not just because of the 70%, but also because of the fact that you could position your units pretty much anywhere. So now you don't like the thing was is like it was already a good item to begin with, but then like you have to like you gotta put your units kind of around it. Now you can put them like anywhere, so that was just really really good.
Offered on 4-2. Hopefully the no longer offered on 4-2 is a buff. This one's questionable, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Prismatic Ticket. I feel like not like a lot of times like on 4-2, I kind of like didn't want it anyway.
Support Golem 2, same as Support Golem 1, no longer offered on 4-2. That's meant to be a nerf. And then the last one here. So What the Forge has some of the worst stats we've ever seen in an augment. It's really, really, really bad. A lot of people don't know how to play all the artifacts. You get random artifacts. You don't have a ton of control. Oh yeah, Support Golem should say 2-1, by the way, not 4-2.
I think all What the Forge has to do is give artifacts that are like useful with your class, because sometimes you would get artifacts that kind of like suck and they don't really do anything. So like you get a frontliner that would get like Death Stance or something like that, and I feel like it's just or whatever it was called. And I don't know.
Oops, that's a typo. But What the Forge, we're going to take a stab here. We buffed it up pretty heavily. That being said, it might still be bad, but we really didn't want to remove the fun for people who really like playing with all the artifact combinations. So we want to see if we can get this augment to be a little bit better. That being said, if it's still bad here, we might just have to cut it. So, all right, small augments. Yes, that's right. A 5th bonus page of augment changes. Bastion Crowns getting buffed will now grant a Shen. Blaster Crowns getting buffed will now grant an Ezreal. Is that a buff?
Yeah, but Ezreal...
If Ezreal's bad?
Yeah, I don't think that's a buff. Ezreal sucks. Tristano's actually pretty good. Scholar Crown going to Bard is, like, better for sure, but still, like, I don't know. Spear of Shojin, though, that's good. Like, getting a Bard and Spear is actually better now. And then Blossoming Lotus, 1 and 2, no longer offering 2. I feel like this is a Syndra problem here. But
Scholar Crown will now get a buff and grant a Bard and a better item, Spear of Shojin, instead of Guardbreaker. And Blossoming Lotus will no longer be offered on 2-1 when it was weak. So Blossoming Lotus, still a good augment, just comes on lane later. All right, Charms. So with this patch, we're going to add 4 new Charms. And who knows, we might keep adding new Charms every patch. Charms, like I said, are a pretty fun mechanic. They've landed really, really well. So let's talk about the 4 new Charms. The first one's called Copycat. 1 gold, stage 2 and 3. Get a 1-star copy of the first enemy unit to die next combat. So you kill a 1 cost, you break even.
I like that.
You kill a 3 cost, sweet. Plus 2 gold. Good stuff. Ironclad Spirit and Mystic Spirit. These are some late game combat augments if you need some armor or something.
But Mystic Spirit's way better than Ironclad Spirit. It's going to require you to scout, guys.
MR based on who you're facing, and you know you're facing them. You can give your whole team some armor and
Spawn
MR.
Swarm is cool.
Good stuff.
I like Spawn Swarm.
And then Spawn Swarm. This is 4 gold on stage 5+. Your first 2 front row units spawn a Voidling after death. So if you wanted that, cool. Back row Star.
Yeah,
this is the one that gives 1 back row unit 40% attack speed. It's been buffed.
They got rid of Desperate Plea. Let's go. I love that. I hate Desperate Plea.
To 2 gold. Desperate Plea. I'm sure a lot of people are happy to see this. Desperate Plea is being removed. That being said, I do want to call out it will likely be back in some form. I'm not ready to talk about what that form is. I think we have a rework we're pretty happy with. But for now, it's going away. Enhance, this is getting buffed down to 1 gold. Okay, Gear Swap. So Gear Swap is the one, by the way, that would give you a Remover and Reforger temporary for 0 gold.
Okay, I think I know what he's going to say. A lot of times it would give you the Remover permanently, and that's broken.
We've removed that, but I'll fast forward to the line later. We replaced it with Tinker, which will give you a Remover and Reforger for 0 gold all game. So basically, there's no such thing as a temporary Remover and Reforger. You can just get a remover and
Okay, that's a big buff.
reforger. This should just be a net buff if you like getting a remover and reforger. So no one should be sad about gear swap being removed. Minor Gambit, if you win, only getting +1 gold felt lame. You get +2 gold.
Sure.
Sweet. Phantom Emblem, this one's being buffed down to 6 gold. Shivanate, this augment is silly. It was meant to be silly, but having to wait until stage 3 before you could get it makes it pretty bad. It was like literally only good on 3-1. So now it's offered in stages 2
I
and
never
3.
took it.
I think it will now be
I
a
never
very
took it.
powerful
I actually always
charm
stopped somebody
into,
when they had it,
stage
even
2.
if I didn't have a combat
expect to see this bot
combat
a lot.
charm.
Summon Dragon,
Thank
this is a very powerful charm.
God.
It's going to do less damage
45,
by about 10%. This
45 AD, 10%. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Like, that's... Summon Dragon being pretty much a guaranteed win is, like, insane.
10% damage nerf. All of its damage is based off its AD, so that will be nerfed. Might have to go harder. We'll see. The Star, this is one of the Xerath charms. This is being nerfed up to 7 gold. Tinker, we already talked about, is now 0G and is offered all game. And Treasure Party is being buffed down to 6 gold. So, like I said, expect to see us make these kind of adjustments.
Yeah, Treasure Party was already semi-decent.
And who knows, more new charms, right? New charms will be fun. Cool. Hyper Roll, for players who like Hyper Roll. Dummies and Golems, seen it be still. Now, all
play Hyper Roll.
damage amp stat. Sweet. Fixed cases where Gwen could fail to cast and then be stuck for several seconds.
That happened
Thank
a lot, actually.
God. Hopefully Gwen is now exciting and fun to play now. Sweet.
Yeah, she was already pretty decent, but that happened a lot where she would just stand there. Callista no longer throws extra spears in her first attack. Portal effects no longer miss when an ally. Krug is the only unit alive. 2 range units with tiny but deadly. No longer fail attacks to other places and thieves gloves on a unit with a hero. No longer removes a buff from them. Couples his gloves. You may no longer spawn the enemy side of the board and eat the unit in that slot. That's crazy. Correctly attaches to a new unit on combat start at their host sold. Fix the bug where frost statues could fail to spawn or spawn with incorrect health. The assassinate charm. Yeah, I think frost will be some.
Callista no longer throw extra spears on her first attack each combat. When an tiny gloves fix, it's pretty like feel more balanced. You can play a lot more things. That's it for this patch. Next patch, there'll be some cool stuff. Patch after that, there'll be some even more cool stuff. I'm spending so much of my time in Futureland. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean this is not a bad patch. Like I agree that they shouldn't just start nuking things and start buffing the shit out of things. Like I think like kind of taking it slow, taking their time, kind of being methodical about it, I think is a smart way to go, because that's the problem that League of Legends has currently, is that like they just over buff and over nerf everything, and then like something's like goes from like a C tier to like an SSSS tier. So I think that in this game, like them kind of taking the slow road, except for with things like Syndra that are just completely broken and taking over every lobby, like I think that's good, and I think we'll definitely see a little bit of a meta change for sure here. I don't think Syndra's like you said, Syndra's not going to be a guaranteed win. Like she's not, but she'll still be good. I wanted to see a little bit more of like maybe an Ezreal buff, maybe like Hwei getting a little buff, maybe Mordekaiser getting a little buff, or like Jinx reroll getting a little buff. But you know, Sugarcraft with the augments and all that stuff. So things are getting buffs through other methods. So I just want 3-cost carry to feel better than 2-cost carry.
Good stuff.
In spots.
All right, that's gonna do it for me. Until next time, take it easy.
Let's see what the comments say. I'm glad Varus got the cast buff. Yeah, 3-star two rage with the star, so he got instantly blown away by Syndra piece, and I wake up screaming every night. Let's see if Syndra gets Varus. If we look at the rest of the set, feels nice. It says really amazing. Says Syndra Karma and cast were way too strong. And something Kog'Maw. Well, yeah, and then just Karma and Syndra and two were like 90% of lobbies cast instead. Funny Syndra 2-star. Okay, but not changing the Dragon Claw carrying on is a weird choice now. Completely unpackable. That declaw augment was fucking terrible to begin with, though. Like, Dragon Spirit. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Spirit is like, it's like it was a it was a very situational pick, and even in those situations, it was kind of like whatever. Just made me play normal League. just doesn't work. Would like to see Kali buff to you're out of your mind. Kali's really good. Yeah. Yeah. So feel overall pretty good patch. Pretty happy with it, and yeah, I look forward to playing it. So thank you guys for watching. Take it easy, and I hope to see you in more of my videos.